was our jugular vein. It is our jugular vein. We will not forget it. And we will not leave our Kashmiri brethren in their heroic struggle, what they are waging against the Indian occupation.
क्या बोलते भेलपुरी खाने से मेरा पति साइड में था एक इंसान
अरे हम लोग फौज हैं हम लोग बैठो बैठो हम लोग फौज हैं बैठो
This was just days before the Pahalgam attack, and a few months ago, Pakistan's Foreign Office has also DGISPR squarely blamed India for the Jafar Express attacks, twisting facts to shield its collapsing credibility. This is not diplomacy, it is deflection. Pakistan peddled lies, and its proxies planned bloodshed in Kashmir. And they struck on the 22nd of April. 26 civilians were butchered in Pahalgam. This wasn't a surprise. This was state-sanctioned terror in motion. The mask is off and Pakistan must be held accountable. Hello and welcome. You're watching Statecraft with me, Geeta Mohan. Pakistan Army Chief General Munir's words, couched in martyrdom and obsession, betray a dangerous, unbroken doctrine of Pakistan. That Kashmir isn't just territory, it's a tool. A tool that Pakistan has weaponized for decades, infusing it with ideology, infiltration, and insurgency. It is not just about land when it comes to Kashmir. For Pakistan, it is about exporting terror across the border, killing tourists, civilians, innocents, and hope. The Pahalgam attack isn't an anomaly, it's just a continuation. On 22nd April 2025, Kashmir's scenic paradise turned into a nightmare. At the Baisaran Meadow in Pahalgam, a picturesque tourist spot dubbed Mini Switzerland, gunmen emerged from the forest and opened fire on unsuspecting tourists. A chilling message came from one terrorist. Go tell this to Modi. 26 lives were lost, dozens injured, and a nation shaken. The perpetrators? The Resistance Front, a front for Lashkar-e-Taiba, Pakistan's most infamous proxy. The plot? Masterminded by Saifullah Qasuri with operations led by Asif Fauji, both veterans of Pakistan's deep terror ecosystem.
वो तुम्हें चैन और सुकून नहीं लेने देगा। तुम कश्मीर को ठंडा करो, वो बलूचिस्तान को गर्म करेगा, वो खैबर पख्तूनख्वा को गर्म करेगा, वो तुम्हारी मस्जिदों को माफ नहीं करेगा, तुम्हारे मदरसों को माफ नहीं करेगा, तुम्हारे बाजारों को माफ नहीं करेगा, तुम्हारी दरसगाहों को माफ नहीं करेगा, तुम्हारे मुल्क को वो अदमे इस्तेहकाम से दो चार कर देगा। ये हुज्जत के तौर पे, दलील और बुरहान के तौर पे ये बात अपने फैसला साजों को जाके बता देना है।
This wasn't random. This was precise. It was planned, and it was Pakistani. But this isn't the first time Pahalgam has become a stage for terror. Let's rewind the reel. 4th July 1995, Pahalgam. 6 Western tourists were abducted by a militant faction called Harkatul Ansar that would later splinter into even darker factions like Jaish-e-Mohammed. They called themselves Al-Faran, a pseudonym to cloak Pakistani involvement, but the smell of Pakistani gunpowder couldn't be masked. The victims, 2 Brits, 2 Americans, 1 German, and 1 Norwegian actor, Hans Christian Ostro, later beheaded, his mutilated body found with Al-Faran carved into his chest. The demand? The release of Masood Azhar, a name that would haunt India years later as the mastermind behind the Pulwama attack of 2019, a man India was later forced to release after IC-814 was hijacked to Kandahar. That was Pakistan's beginning in weaponizing foreign lives to manipulate international diplomacy. It wasn't just about Kashmir anymore. It was a theatre to globalize their jihad. In 2025, the terrorists were no less methodical. Survivors of the Baisaran Meadow attack recounted the horror of how these terrorists came up to them, checked asked for their names. Some were reportedly stripped to check whether if they were Muslims or non-Muslims. Remember General Munir's statement, the provocative speech about Hindus and Muslims being different, backing the two-nation theory and justifying why Pakistan was created. His proxies followed through, targeting non-Muslims in Pahalgam. Pallavi, one of the survivors whose husband was executed right in front of her eyes, was told by the terrorists to go and tell this to Modi. The message was clearly soaked in blood and menace. The aim, not just destruction, political theatre is what we're calling it.
अभी मेरे हिसाब से 10 जगह से रॉन फायरिंग होगी, 10 थाने के ऊपर होगी।
बैठो 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 आराम से बैठो।
फायरिंग कर रहे हैं वो लोग।
हाँ
फायरिंग कर रहे हैं।
कुछ चोट है
मेरे बाजू में बगल में था।
क्या ब्लड कहीं लगा चोट क्या बेटा? अच्छा ठीक ठीक बैठो, मैं पट्टी करता हूँ आपको। अरे नहीं 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 हम लोग फौज है, हम लोग बैठो बैठो, हम लोग फौज है, बैठो बैठो चलो। अरे हम लोग फौजी हैं, कुछ नहीं करेंगे, आपकी सेफ्टी के लिए आए हैं, आपकी सेफ्टी के लिए आए हैं, बैठो 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 बैठो, आपकी सेफ्टी के लिए आए हैं, हम इंडियन आर्मी हैं, बैठो। ये इंडियन आर्मी है। आप लोग कहाँ से आए हो, कहाँ से आए आप लोग? आपके बच्चे कुछ नहीं करेंगे, थोड़ा बताइए। हुआ पति को मार दिया? नहीं नहीं बेटा शांत हो, हेलो पानी पियो पानी पियो। कहाँ से आए लोग? हैदराबाद से। अरे साथ में आपके हैदराबाद के हैं।
Back in 1995, John Shiles, an American tourist, managed a miraculous escape.
We were treated well by our captors.
What do you mean by well?
We were not threatened. We were not injured. We were not abused. We were captives.
Were they English-speaking captors?
I don't want to comment on that.
How did you communicate with them?
I don't want to comment on that, please. I can't comment on that without perhaps jeopardizing the chances of remaining hostages.
Are they fine?
They are in, when I left them, they were in good health. I was in the worst health of all. Everybody else was holding up extremely well.
Why did you shave off your beard? To hide your identity?
No, I grew the beard during captivity because I didn't have a razor blade.
How were the British hostages when you last saw them?
They were holding up very bravely. They were making the best they could of the situation, and they are hoping and praying for their quick release.
The rest were never found. Indian authorities later declared them dead, believed to have been killed and buried in silence by a pro-India militant faction led by Ghulam Nabi Mir. The only traces left behind were in the pages of The Meadow, a harrowing account written by journalists Adrian Levy and Catherine Scott Clark, which spoke of government complicity and cover-up. Western diplomats were horrified. Travel advisories were issued against traveling to Kashmir. Fast forward to 2016, the Uri attack. A pre-dawn assault by Pakistani militants killed 19 Indian soldiers. The evidence pointed clearly to Jaish-e-Mohammed, yet again nurtured by Rawalpindi's covert wing, the ISI. What followed? India's surgical strikes, a decisive shift in doctrine. 3 years later, Pulwama, February 14, 2019. A suicide bomber rammed into a CRPF convoy, killing 40 personnel. Once again, Jaish-e-Mohammed took responsibility. And once again, Pakistan denied any involvement, despite India presenting concrete evidence of cross-border training camps and logistical support. The common thread in all these attacks: a Pakistani passport, a Pakistani gun, a Pakistani motive. 2 incidents, 30 years apart, one location, Pahalgam. Same mountains, same blood-stained trails. The faces of the dead may differ, but the story, hauntingly, remains familiar. In 1995, they were foreign tourists. In 2025, domestic tourists. But the message always has remained clear and same. Pakistan, or for that matter Pakistani establishment, the military, does not want peace in Kashmir. Kashmir was once called heaven on earth. Today, the heaven is haunted by gunfire, graveyards and grief. Pahalgam was supposed to be the center of Kashmir's spring revival, a symbolic reopening after years of unrest and COVID-related economic decline. Tour operators were hopeful, pony owners were busy, hotels were booking up, locals were finally seeing the return of livelihoods. All of that was erased in 15 minutes of gunfire.
All the hotels were having nearly 100% occupancy in May period, and that is the immediate concern area. Like I said before, in the next 24 hours, we will understand the ground reality as the dust settles down. The Hotel Owners Association, the Houseboat Owners Association, the taxi owners have taken out a silent protest march condemning the action in Lal Chowk. Again, I repeat, this was not the way they would come out because of the fear factor, but this time the entire valley is coming out against terrorism. It is not just about their livelihood. It is also a sad moment for them, because the normalcy of Kashmir can also be attributed not just to the safe environment post-abrogation 370 which prevailed in the valley in the last 3 years, but also to the hospitality which the local Kashmiris extended. And they feel sad that this kind of attack undermines the hospitality and the kind of brotherhood they were extending towards the courtesy towards the tourists from all over India, and puts them in bad light. So immediate worry is not what happens to my bread and butter tomorrow, as much as the sad factor that why does it have to happen in spite of us putting the best hospitality out. And this is sending a very strong message to whoever has orchestrated this, that the valley will not stand behind them.
The Pahalgam attack didn't just kill people, it assassinated optimism. The irony? It wasn't tourists who were the primary targets of Pakistani terror. It was tourism. When you attack honeymooners, picnickers, and children riding ponies, your goal isn't military, it's psychological, it's economic. It's about collapsing the idea that Kashmir can ever be peaceful. And who pays the highest price? Not Islamabad, certainly not Rawalpindi, not New Delhi, but Kashmir. Kashmiris. A Kashmiri worker, tourist guide, pony handler, shopkeeper, hotel owner, restaurateur. They are the ones who are paying the highest price for these attacks that are taking place in the valley. Pakistan claims that it feels for Kashmir, that it is Pakistan's jugular vein, but bleeds it dry with every bullet. Within hours of the attack, Prime Minister Narendra Modi cut short his diplomatic visit to Saudi Arabia and returned to Delhi. Union Home Minister Amit Shah landed in Kashmir by the next morning, vowing harshest consequences. The security apparatus launched a massive operation involving the Army, CRPF and the NIA. But behind the scenes, India is not looking at this event as an isolated incident. This is a pattern, and patterns demand policy, not pity. Expect surgical strikes? Perhaps. Covert ops? Possible. Diplomatic isolation of Pakistan? Inevitable. The visit of US Vice President J.D. Vance at the time of the attack only intensified global attention. If Pakistan cannot control terror, India will, by any means necessary. Shafqat Ali Khan can deflect, General Munir can dramatize, but history doesn't lie. From 1995 to 2025, Kashmir has been forced to endure a parade of Pakistani-backed terrorist organizations. LET, JEM, HUA, TRF, the alphabet soups in service of a single doctrine, bleed India by proxy. The victims may have changed, methods may have evolved, but the hand behind the trigger remains the same. For 3 decades, Pakistan has waged an undeclared war, not on India's military, but on its spirit, its economy, its unity. And today, the weapon of choice isn't just the gun, it's fear. Fear fired into the hearts of honeymooners, backpackers, and pilgrims. Fear designed to empty hotels, shutter pony rides, and silence shikaras. Because when Pakistan strikes Kashmir, it doesn't just aim for Delhi. It aims for Dal Lake, for Gulmarg, for Pahalgam, for tourism, which is the lifeline and hope of people in the valley, of people in Kashmir. Pakistan has been exporting terrorism into the valley for decades. The aim is to keep it destabilized. A crumbling economy in Kashmir serves Pakistan's purpose. Tourists are leaving Pahalgam, tourists are leaving Srinagar, Kashmir, and other parts as well. But when the Indian government and the agencies say it is safe to go back to Kashmir, please do not abandon Kashmir. Do not abandon Kashmiris, for that is what Pakistan wants. I leave you on a very sad note this evening. Here's an image that will haunt not just India and the international community forever, but also seek answers and accountability from Pakistan. The image of a wife sitting beside the lifeless body of her husband. Her eyes are lifeless. She doesn't scream. She just stares. Thank you for watching Statecraft.